Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 10. It is called Stolen. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. Right, the first thing I have to address with this episode, is that, I love that they're paying homage to Bill Paxton's character from Season 1 of the show. I love Bill Paxton. A wonderful gesture of calling back, and plus it falls into the idea that we've been talking about all season about bringing all these things back from early in the show.
As Coulson actually puts it, oh look, you're going through our greatest hits.
He does, yes. That said, though, so I love that they're doing it, but here's the thing: we meet this character in the 80s, right? This young version of the character in the 80s. What do I mainly know Bill Paxton from? I mainly know him from movies in the 80s. So this, let's be honest, mediocre actor trying to be young Bill Paxton is a hard pill to swallow. I'm not gonna lie.
To be fair, it's a fruitless task, isn't it?
It is, and I ultimately like what they're doing with it, but it was kind of that thing where even in the opening scene where it's kind of teasing because they don't say his name yet, and Nathaniel's kind of talking to him, and you're like this is clearly going to be someone. And this is the thing, we didn't know what time period we were in yet, so it was kind of hard to guess in a lot of ways because we didn't know they were still in the 80s. Because when it first cut to him, I thought, this looks like maybe the 90s. I'm getting something 90s, from the trench coat and the darts playing. I don't know, if it felt 90s to me. But I'll buy it as the 80s too. If anything, I laughed when Nathaniel popped up because it was like, wait, they're both wearing trench coats. They both have the same look. What's going on? This is weird. And then, of course, it ends with him saying he's Garrett. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And because at that point it confirmed who he was. And I think I did have the inkling that it might be him because it was just one of the possibilities. Once I knew it was him, though, for the rest of the episode, every scene he was in, I was paying attention to the actor and looking for him trying to be Bill Paxton. And there was definitely lines of dialogue where I'm like, okay, that does sound like a Paxton line, but obviously this guy's not delivering it like Bill Paxton. He's trying. Bless him, he's trying.
I think I give him credit for not trying too hard, in the point where it didn't pull me out of it too much. Obviously if you're looking for it, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not terrible. He's not trying too hard that it's like, okay, I get what you're doing. Okay, give it up. It's just enough where I'm like, okay, sure. You have to try to some degree, otherwise it's not believable. It's the same character.
I can't really fault the show for it. It's kind of it's a problem that pops up, and it happens occasionally with actors who were actors when they were kids, and they'll do a flashback to when so they're adult now playing roles in their 20s, 30s, whatever, and there'll be a flashback scene, hey, this is what happened when they were 12, and they'll have some young actor, but I'm like, wait, no, I saw this kid and things when they were that age. This, and even if the performance is good, it's like, well, I know they don't look like this, though. I know what they look like because I saw them at that age. This is even a worse version of it because it's not just the kid version of something, but you can buy the difference between kid and adult quite easily. More so, this is Bill Paxton in his prime is who this guy's supposed to be.
That's I would say most people would, if you told them to conjure an image of him, would probably be from that time period. Just automatically.
And 90s as well, I suppose. It's kind of even, but I mean, either way, it's kind of the same in both. There's not much of a difference. Yeah. But you think of Terminator, you think of Aliens especially, you think of Near Dark perhaps. Maybe you have to be more of a nerd for that one, but you should watch Near Dark because it's fantastic. I recommend it.
I agree.
And then get it in the 90s and stuff. And I just with Tim, I just recorded an episode for Streams on Frailty, the movie that he starred in and directed.
Any good?
Paxton. It's pretty good actually. So not only is this clearly not Bill Paxton, I had him fresh in my mind, his cadence, the way he delivers his lines, the way he talks, because Bill Paxton's a very unique sound. He's got a very unique way he speaks.
He does, yeah.
So I just want to get out of the way first. I just want to say it was a little distracting for me, and it was something that ultimately, unless they just I think Paxton maybe has a son. I don't know if he's an actor. I don't know if that would be the
but that's the thing. If he's not an actor, it's all well and good that he might look like him, but if he doesn't have the ability to deliver in the same way, then
wait, I've just said something hilarious. Because it is his son.
Is it actually?
Well, his name is James Paxton. I assume.
I mean, it's not that he doesn't look like him enough. It was just, like you say, it's the delivery that's not really there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know that's makes me think? No, it's not. See, I feel like a dick now because I said he was a mediocre actor, which I still think he is. But
well, no, but that's okay. He's not a terrible actor. He's not bad. I think that's been clear throughout. And I was literally about to say that before this. Now it just sounds like I'm defending it. But I suspect he was cast just because of that, rather than his acting ability in his own right.
They clearly had the same idea I had, but unfortunately, it's like
it comes as well saying it's just saying that maybe it would have been better to get a better actor who looks less like him. So
yeah, I always say someone who could do an impression, but someone who can maybe more convincingly. Like I think you think of like what do you mean? Carl Urban in Star Trek as Bones. Like he doesn't really look like anything like him, but by God, he delivers the lines just in the right way. Or
it's the mannerisms, and the delivery. Yeah, he nails it.
Or even, that's another good example. There's definitely ones, but the example I was going to give though to compare this to, and this is this is not as harsh as that I mean it to sound, but just in the sense of like the kid's not really doesn't make you think of the parent. Jaden Smith. When I see Jaden Smith in something, I'm not like that's a young Will Smith. I'm just kind of like, no, this is just some other kid who happens to be related to Will Smith.
I'd have gone with Eastwood.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Who's like fine, right? He's he's not terrible, but it's not the same. There's a lot of on their name, right?
Yeah, I feel like a dick because I'm sure James Paxton, this actor, I'm sure he feels honoured that he's getting to play a role that his dad played, and he feels like he's paying homage to his father, and it's a nice good feel good thing, and it is. And I've just shat all over it by saying he's not good enough. But
how many people do you reckon commented to tell us that it's his son before we got to that point?
Probably many. Although admittedly, I think what would have been bad though if I had made that crack about maybe they should have got a son if he has one and then didn't check his name.
That would have been worse. Yeah,
that would have been much worse.
We'd have never heard the end of that one.
But so I'm sorry, James, but you're just not Bill Paxton.
He probably knows.
He probably knows. His dad's a kind of a legend, but. Well, that's the thing though. It's not just that. I mean, obviously, like Bill Paxton passed away really tragically at a young age. 61, I think he was, super young. But even if he hadn't passed away, they still couldn't have Bill Paxton playing this age of the character. Like it wouldn't be him playing this role.
Not without the magic Marvel de-aging tech, which this show does not have access to. No,
they don't have the money for that. It's not like they just got a button they can turn on.
Yeah.
That does the Michael Douglas thing. But it's kind of that thing where no matter what it would have been James playing the role anyway, even if his father was still alive. It'd probably be him.
Almost certainly.
We may have got a cameo of Bill. If the timelines change and we get to see him older at some point, maybe they'd have written it around that so we could see him. But
yeah, it's wasn't to be.
No. So my sincerest apologies to James Paxton,
who is just okay.
Do you know what's so funny though? Just after it was this is Garrett. I kept looking at him going, see if I could see any similarities, and there was the odd little thing. His teeth have got a little bit of that gap that Bill Paxton has. You can see it a little bit there. But if anything, I'm shocked that he doesn't.
Not every son looks like their father.
I know, that's just true. So, well, this is the thing. Like sometimes they take after more their mother's side of the family, and this might just be the case here where he's got a lot more of his mother's family in him than he does his father's family. He has
some features. It's not like it's impossible to believe.
Yeah,
but it's not like sometimes you'll see someone's kid and you'll be like, oh my god, it's like the spitting image of them at that age, and you would completely believe it was them at a time. Yeah,
I've always been told that I look more like the men in my mother's side of the family than my dad's side. So it's
perfectly plausible.
It's 50-50. It's one or the other. Sometimes it may be more of an even split, I suppose, but for the most part, you tend to veer more towards one or the other, I find.
Yeah.
So, oh well. We'll move on with the rest of the review. Oh, I feel like such a dick. All right.
A good 9 minutes there of shitting on someone's son. Just for being their son. Well, and not being amazing, but
Oh dear. Well, I mean, that was my cool take. I mean, ultimately, I judged it without knowing who he was, which I think meant it was a fairer judgment, perhaps, than it otherwise would have been. So, There's merit in there. There's merit in doing it that way.
There is.
So,
There is.
fair enough. All right. Does James have a brother, perhaps, that we could have used? Is that possible?
Do you know what? I hope not. Because imagine being the both of those brothers and being like competing against each other for the roles of, okay, well, who gets to take Dad's role this time? Imagine being the one that's never picked. That would be shitty.
Well, maybe that one's not an actor. I mean, assuming one exists.
Well, I mean, assuming they're both actors in this scenario.
The other one maybe might be a lawyer.
There might not even be a second one.
Yeah. Maybe an only child for all I know. I don't know what Bill's.
I mean, clearly we didn't even know he had a son.
No, clearly. So, anyway, moving on to the rest of the episode. A lot of big things happen. I think it's had a string of like really great episodes. So this oddly felt like it was a little bit weaker than a lot of the ones that we've had recently.
Good episode, don't get me wrong, but I think definitely noticeably weaker than the past. I don't know, 4.
A couple of great moments. It definitely feels like it was moving a lot of things around, even though there is a big couple of dramatic things. Obviously, the big thing being Jiaying, and we played with Sky getting to speak to her, finding out she has a sister, which I love that May's about it. Till, by the way, we have to talk about something, and then obviously
they just
teleport in. Yeah, and then obviously Jiaying has to say, "Please make sure you bring my daughter back alive," and Sky's like, "Wait, what now?"
and May's like, well, "You've got to tell you, but we were kind of caught in a time loop, and shit happened."
Yeah, there was a lot of things going on. So I enjoyed that. But so the big thing, of course, and we were kind of theorizing, like, what if something does happen to affect Sky's birth, and like maybe does she end up being kind of a paradox herself, and maybe that's kind of part of the romance between her and Sosa, as they're both kind of like out of their not time. I mean, she's not out of her time. I mean, she might be at the end of the season. I mean, who knows where they end up, but
out of the world.
Yeah. So maybe that's something they can relate to each other with. I don't know. But yeah, Nathaniel kills Jiaying. It's actually a really good moment. It's probably the one of the biggest and best moments of the episode. I almost get a dark laugh out of it actually after he snaps her neck. He goes, "Oh, guess you won't live forever." It was just the way he delivered it. Like I don't think
suitably evil.
I don't think Nathaniel's the best actor or the best villain we've had in the show, but that line I thought was delivered quite well.
Yeah, probably one of his best moments.
And Sky was about to go nuclear with her powers, and then May just happened to like interrupt with shooting them. But she was the lighthouse was about to crumble. It was about to come down.
Much. It was rough, and it was a great whole moment. And honestly, the earlier scene between Daisy and Jiaying was probably the other best scene of the episode.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting having Sosa there, because we talked about the dollhouse reunion quality, so we actually had them both in the same room, so that was kind of a fun.
And him kind of just pushing her into it.
Yeah, it kind of showed that he really cared and wanted to sort of prod her in ways that she clearly wants to go, but is hesitant about. So
really chuffed with his new leg.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's running around. He's offering to carry bags, so much that Simmons is noticing and be like, "Oh, a bit of chivalry going on here, I see." And Simmons, notably, even starts to speculate that maybe the reason why Fitz isn't helping with the jumps, because it's been kind of all the jumps recently, when she's talking to Deke, it's pointed out that hey, these have all been accidents, they've all been malfunctions, they've all been glitches and unexplainable.
Yeah.
So she ponders that maybe the reason why she's why after the memory loss, it's been under the guise of, oh, I can't know where he is. What if this is something we kind of speculated a little bit last week. Like, what if, I mean, I was still under the impression that maybe she couldn't know something too, but it was also covering up something she just couldn't bear to remember. Like, it kind of went hand in hand. But here she kind of speculates that, what if it's just that I can't bear to remember what happened to him? What if something so bad happened that...
What if she had to do something to him?
Yeah. What if this is just a cover story?
For herself. This is ultimate deep cover, this.
Yeah. So, I think there's some potential there. I do expect Fitz to be okay. Because I expect some great moment where he walks in and saves the day. Because I need that in my life.
I do as well. But if it's not, and they do go down this route of, no, he is dead, I can see the dramatic potential still in that, right? And I won't be annoyed by it.
Something bad definitely happened, don't get me wrong. There's definitely some trauma to explore, which they're poking at, especially now that she's questioning it herself, and they're really kind of thinking about it now. But no, so that stuff was kind of interesting. Obviously, the big thing with the main plot of the episode is Nathaniel He's given Garrett, and Garrett being another person who, I mean, obviously he's not really supposed to die till much later, because that was in season 1 of the show, but he's taken someone else who's been killed already and given them powers, bringing them over to the dark side a little bit sooner than
Interestingly,
expected.
removing him from Hydra.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the timeline's really
screwed. As Sousa puts it, it's screwed.
Yeah, the timeline's going really kablooey at this point. And he ultimately wants to give Garrett Gordon's power so he can teleport, and that's kind of a big facet later on in the episode. Before that, of course, we also see that the other random dude... actually, although, to be fair, I feel like I recognised his name, so he may have been a character that was around at some point. What?
Lee, the guy with the knives.
No, he was the guy who had the powers first. I'm talking about the guy who got the powers.
It was
like
do something.
It was like a J or a G sound or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
It sounded familiar. Durant, that's what it was. But I don't know if that's just my my old memory from the Darkman trilogy coming back.
Okay.
Durant was the villain in Darkman.
Sure.
I
don't know. It's a name that feels like it could be familiar, but it doesn't jump out to me.
So that's kind of and throughout the episode, like they're trying to go in and save. Coulson goes in with Gordon immediately because of the timeline
and the time stream.
Yeah, Sybil's precognitive abilities. They were able to just sort of ambush them. And, Coulson's like, I'm going to break down this door. Meh. Gordon's like, this is a room built for powerful my DC terminology's creeping out there. For powerful inhumans. Well, that was a Freudian slip.
There.
Yeah, that was a proper slip, that one. But ultimately, doesn't have to. But then eventually, Yo-Yo and Matt come in. Matt comes in first. I did laugh a little bit when he goes to call Yo-Yo, and she comes in before he's even finished the first yo.
Yeah.
Just swoops in. So she's really making full use of her unlocked potential in the episode.
It's obviously that Gordon does teleport them out of the room, and then he dies.
Yeah. Which again,
is probably
timeline.
The first big timeline shift of the episode, barring Garrett. Obviously, barring the actual villains being removed intentionally. Mm-hmm. This felt like the first major shift for this episode. Yeah,
this was a big deal. So obviously, like, part of me expects there's going to be some sort of weird timeline-y. If I saw some people speculating that maybe they're going to explain why there was no snap at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all this timeline shenanigans might, kind of ultimately answer it.
Maybe.
It's the sort of thing where I don't want them to go out of the way to do it, but if it's something neatly fits with that, I was like, sure.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that if we do just leave this in an alternate timeline, which feels pretty likely at this point to me, or at least strongly possible.
Unless Sousa ends up in a police uniform in the first Avengers.
Yeah. Look, what I'm saying is, though, it's possible here that this is ultimately just a way of, once and for all, this is separated from the MCU now. But at the end, like,
yeah,
uncontroversially, it will be different.
Yeah, unless some sort of crisis level reset of things happens where everything goes back to where it's supposed to be, and our characters are paradoxes that sort of live outside the.
In a way, I kind of hope that's not the case. Mainly because while I like that beat in general, the most interesting part of that story is the follow-up, right? Of, okay, well, how do characters deal with, being the ones that remember this other stuff, but that's now that this is fixed. Just having everything fixed at the end of the show would feel a little, for me personally, a little unsatisfying, I think.
I can't possibly say. It depends how they do it. It completely is dependent on how they address it, what the emotional beats are, the sacrifices that are made to achieve it. There's so many elements that go into it that I can't make any definitive statements as to how I feel about it one way or the other.
Yeah,
and quite frankly, this show has proven pretty much time and time again to trust it.
I'm not saying I don't trust it. In fact, that's why I said it was more likely, in my opinion, that this is just going to be an alternate timeline by the end.
We'll see. I don't know what sort of wacky things they're going to pull, especially since they actually went out of their way to reference one of the movies in this episode.
They did, yeah.
When Garrett's like saying, "Hey, show me a bunch of stuff for the future. I watched you die a number of times." And he's like, "What's your favorite one?" It's like, "Well, when that long-haired dude stabbed you with a big stick." That one was funny. Uh,
I mean, sure. Yeah.
I just sorry that scene felt a little overwritten to me because it was like this thing where obviously I don't think there's any rules about them actually just flat out saying the word Loki or like addressing exactly what it is. But I think they were going for this idea where Garrett just doesn't know any of these details, so he's just kind of like. But they almost went too far to the point where it sounds like they're trying to avoid mentioning any detail.
Yeah, and that was also the really meta scene where they're talking about greatest hits, and like say, oh, okay, and then we're gonna reference Avengers for the first time in a while. It felt not out of place, that scene, but I felt the writing in that scene more than any other.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's definitely probably the clunkier the clunkiest episode we've had in at least like half the season.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's because we're on a really great run, and it's not so much of a complaint because we're going into the last three now. This set up a lot of interesting elements. Some interesting stuff with Cora, the sister, who doesn't come with everyone else to attack the lighthouse.
No, is she a plant?
A plant?
Yeah. Yeah, because at the end she's with Coulson and the rest, and they take her on board, and it's like, okay, do they want someone on the inside?
I mean, yeah, potentially. I thought when you said plant, I thought you were trying to like speculate some sort of bigger twist, whereas that's not a twist. It's just that's the obvious. Like I thought you were trying to suggest that she was actually playing the bad guys there. I was like, oh, explain, but you were just giving me the like what? Yeah.
No, like I'm just like, is she a plant or is there some genuine turn going on with her? I don't think so. I don't think she's learned enough to change. I don't think so.
I do think it's interesting though at the end of the episode when they've saved all the Inhumans from what do we call
it? Again, the word.
Oh my god. Not Haven, something else. I don't know.
Afterlife.
There you go. I think it's interesting at the end of the episode that they've got a bunch of like Inhumans they've rescued on the jet, right? So I'm thinking, did they end up with an Inhuman little team for not anyone we're gonna get a lot of time with, but just like other soldiers who've got powers to help fight.
Just a little army.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something to ponder. Obviously, the actual ending knows that Nathaniel, and Garrett steal Simmons, and then steal the Quinjet. They actually, and unbeknownst to them, they actually steal Deke by accident as well. But
yeah, I love the moment where he teleports in and grabs Simmons, and she's with Susan.
Yeah,
and she just goes, "Shoot him now!" And he doesn't even hesitate, but he's obviously not fast enough.
Yeah,
but credit to him, because he doesn't know who this guy is at first.
What I like about this is that since the start of the season, it's all been, my head has to remain a lockbox because if the Chromicons get all blah blah blah, and then we've sort of shifted to Nathaniel and his like stealing like people who could be villains throughout the timeline. I like that it's kind of all converging together here, where obviously we knew that she was already kind of like helping him or using him as a puppet, but the idea is that it's finally come back round to like them getting after Simmons because she wants to know what's inside Simmons' head, and they're going to try and achieve it. That's the cliffhanger. It's like, we're going to go in your head and we're going to find out where he is.
Yeah. I'm excited. Obviously we don't watch the preview, so maybe I'm wrong, but my hope for next episode is essentially it's Deke's Die Hard episode.
You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking. See when he was because they say up early in the episode that he was wearing headphones a lot when he was doing stuff.
He's been stuck in the 80s for a while. He's in the groove.
So he couldn't like hear the radio tell it was like too late, and he's already the Quinjet's already on its way away, and I was like, it's like they don't know he's there. I was like, is Deke going to be John McClane next episode? Like that was my
that was
initial
the
thought.
Vibe I was getting. Yeah.
Yeah, that we're going to get Deke Die Hard, which is
I'm down for
it. So that's kind of, obviously the I mean, maybe not all the answers, but you have to expect that we're going to get some answers from Simmons' head next episode.
It feels likely.
Yeah, I mean we've only got 3 left. It feels like the perfect time to do it.
It does
at this point in the season. So I am super pumped about that. A couple little Coulson details throughout the episode as well. We had just little beats kind of continuing the trend with him where he's like, no, I'm expendable, and Max like, no, you're not expendable. So, okay, but I'm recyclable. Like you can bring me back if something happens to me. Just little snippets like that throughout.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so
I thought it was weird the whole not knowing what teleporting was.
Oh,
Thing.
Garrett's, yeah, he didn't have a word for it.
Like teleporting has been a phrase for this exact thing since the 1800s. This isn't like a new thing.
Was it well known though?
I mean,
to the average Joe.
I feel like it was in movies.
And I'm
stuff,
not saying Garrett's an average Joe in every sense. Obviously, he's a trained like shield agent and whatnot. But I mean, an average Joe in the sense that he's not a nerd.
I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was in fiction for long before that.
Yeah. I'll admit, it would have been an easier thing to swallow perhaps in like the 50s. I'd buy that most people don't know what teleportation is in the 50s. 80s, I imagine it's probably in enough things at that point. But then again, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't born until 89. I have no idea.
No, neither, but I think we're in probably firmly the mid-80s at this point. It feels like it's the sort of thing people would know by now. But maybe we're wrong.
Well, maybe you're wrong. I'm not questioning it. You're the one questioning it.
Well, okay, fine. I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yes, thank you.
It just stuck out. It felt weird.
I'm trusting the show here. You're the one questioning things.
I'm questioning it.
I've already questioned the paternity test.
and
that apparently never happened with Paxton. So,
well, look. At the end of the day, even if I'm wrong here, and maybe teleportation wasn't a widely known term in the mid '80s,
yes,
I still feel like less of a fool than you looked earlier.
I mean, hey, it's all in the name of entertainment, you know. That'll be the moment people remember from this review. That's the moment.
It probably will.
It'll be funny. So
we could have just stopped there and not bothered with this, remaining 20 minutes or whatever it's been.
Dear. So there's a couple of moments that are obviously quite big. The Jia Ying one being the biggest, obviously. Sky sitting with her afterwards is kind of a touching little beat. Because obviously it immediately calls into question, like, what happens now? Like, do I cease to exist?
Yeah, and we've kind of speculated probably not because of Deke.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see what they do with this. But I do wonder though, like, I wonder if like the only reason why she's still alive technically right now is it because because they're out of time, because they're like they're doing all this time travel and time warp. I wonder if when things eventually settle, like I wonder if we do get like a she fades from existence at the end of the show because now she's on a clock. Now she's on like a burning candle.
It's possible. I don't think it's a likely outcome, but it's not impossible.
Alternatively, like there's a really reasonable chance that if they do take anyone from the show to then pop up in either other shows on the Disney Plus service or in movies, it would have to be her. She's the one that would actually fit with joining up with teams, or even something as simple as like Miss Marvel would be a really good place for her to go and like be a regular recurring character. As another Inhuman, someone who's a bit more experienced, showing up to train her kind of thing.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
That could totally be an avenue. At the same time though, like they really should have just been in Endgame. They should have been in the portals.
We've been over this.
We've been over this.
It's a travesty that it wasn't.
I'm never dropping it. That bitch Thanos should have been quaked.
Can you imagine?
Well, yeah, hell, even just that moment in Endgame where it's like all the female like members.
Oh yeah, she should have been there.
Her and May should have been in that lineup because you had
and Bobby, frankly.
Oh, and Bobby, yeah. Oh, but Bobby's been gone for so long now that
she has. But if there was ever a moment to throw her in, right?
True. But just because like, this is not disrespect to Simmons, but Simmons isn't on the battlefield. That's not her character.
No, that's fine. I don't think she'd want to be there.
But those two are two of the best female characters in the MCU. I'd have to sit and think about it maybe a bit, but like I've often said that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is my favorite part of the MCU, and I stand by that.
That is unquestionably true. Yeah. Whether they're the best female characters, I mean, maybe you'd have to actually think about it more. I think they're definitely up there. They've got, fundamentally, they've just had way more development time than pretty much anyone else, right?
Oh no, that's true. I'd have to sit and think about just a few characters and sort of, But I mean, they probably are. I mean, they probably are my favorites. But I wouldn't want to definitively say it without giving it some more thought.
Yeah.
But there you go. So yeah, it's just funny because this episode ultimately doesn't have like as exciting things to talk about, I think, as some of the other stuff.
I agree. It's a really solid episode, and like I say, it kind of leaves us in a good place for next time. Yeah, we were quite excited at maybe, okay, maybe it's Die Hard Deke. And then, okay, we got 2 episodes after that to really hammer home just the final blows of this show, because I'm sure that's what it's going to be.
And not that I expect that Die Hard Deke will be the focus, but I do think it will be quite complementary, given that it'll be a lot of Simmons focused stuff. So the idea of having Deke being kind of integral to that, because technically her grandson.
Yeah, it's all family.
So it makes sense. No, I mean, I do expect to see the others as well. I don't expect it to be a bottle episode just on them. I expect the others will be in pursuit or try to find them or whatever.
I think that's likely that we'll see the others. It would be really ballsy to not.
Because this isn't like when Deke and Mac were in the 80s and I said, no, they shouldn't be in the, barring like a bookend thing, they should not be in the episode. This is not like that. I feel like they would fit being there.
I mean, they would fit being there. You could do it without them. I think it would be a ballsy move to do it without them, given that you've only got 3 episodes left. And you'd maybe question, okay, we're dedicating a full episode to this, which is probably going to be fun, let's be honest. But should we have spent time on some of the other stuff? Well,
I think it's going to be half fun. I've got a funny feeling some of the Simmons stuff is going to be traumatic. So.
Oh, okay. The Die Hard side of it will be fun. The actual emotional character drama will be devastating.
I suspect the last 10 minutes of next week's episode is going to hurt.
There may be some man tears.
Yes, that's what I suspect. But yes, let us know what you thought of this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comments below. We have 3 episodes left. Please do like on YouTube. Liking is very important. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that we are worth recommending out and more people will find us. I know it sounds like a really boring and like inhumane and just jaded way of thinking about it, but go on, add to the algorithm. Go on, click it. Click the heart. Is it heart? It's a thumbs up. Yeah, Twitter's the heart. Sorry. Click the thumbs up. Yeah.
I mean, you can go heart stuff on the Twitter as well if that helps.
Oh, sure, you can do both. Yeah, both are helpful. But first, you can get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV as well if you want to support us financially for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble and feel warm and fuzzy inside for supporting everything we do. So that is us. Thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. And I almost said the wrong catchphrase there for some reason, but yeah. Have you got any vanilla?